We are ready to go. So we're getting ready to start the webinar now. You all ready to go?
I'm ready to go, Jim. Thank you.
All right. Well, great. Well, let's get this thing up and going here. So, all right. Well, welcome. It is right at 6 o'clock. So we got this up and going on time. So I am really excited today. We got a chance to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Dave Dholder is our guest tonight, and he's going to be talking to us about, really kind of what to do. Mom or dad needs more care. We trying to figure out what to do. We're a little overwhelmed. How do we help? I never knew this until I've already been dealing with this for 20 some years. And then I met Dave and found out that people actually do this for a living. And I'm like, oh my God, people need to understand this and know what it's all about. Dave is someone who is a professional that helps you in all these crazy decisions. And he does it really at no cost to you. So how weird is that? So anyway, Dave, I want to turn it over to you, Dave Dholder, with Assisted Living Locators. I want to turn this to you and let you kind of run with this whole thing and tell us what you do, who you are, all those, all the things that go along with that.
That's great. Well, thank you, Jim. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to everyone out there about what I do. So yeah, my name is Dave Dholder. I'm the owner of Assisted Living Locators of North Indy. And what I do is I'm a senior living advisor. And so what does that mean? Well, you can kind of think of me as a little bit parallel to like a realtor, or I think, Jim, you say as a broker, right? So I work to help families, seniors understand what options there are for senior living. And this could be independent, assisted living, memory care. Realtor, I'm going to work to understand what the needs are, location, budgets, and help you make the best decision the first time out. So just like a realtor, I will go with you on the tours, kind of wear that realtor hat, wear that advocate hat, sometimes it's a therapist hat, but really help you in a very difficult time, understand the processes that go along with senior living, understand the big picture, and ultimately help you make the decision. But like Jim said, it's at no cost to you. And that really is just like when you go to buy a house. The seller pays the referral fees. If I'm able to put together some options for you and you move forward with that, I get paid a referral fee. So just like a realtor in that regard. So that's basically what I do in that regard. I like to think that really what I'm there to do is to really offer that peace of mind. This transition for families and seniors alike is a very stressful one. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of where do we start? It's overwhelmed. And I'm kind of that calm in the storm that's going to show you how to navigate this, what to look out for, what questions to ask, and really steer you in the right direction. Because my ultimate goal, like I said, is that you can make that right decision, but make an educated and informed one. So you really have that peace of mind that you're like, wow, I'm glad I didn't have to go at this alone and go tour 15 communities and try to figure this out. So that's basically what my senior living role is.
Well, I appreciate it. And it's a role that if you've not lived it, you don't know. Okay. It is, my experience has always been hurry up. And, it's like, maybe even been talking about it for years. We should start talking about it, never do. And then all of a sudden then crisis kicks in, and then you have to make a decision over the weekend. Okay. And right. So, then you're out, in really at the mercy of the market. You go to one building and it looks really, really pretty, but you don't really know how it works inside. And if the care level's right, there's all those things that is just very difficult, I think, for the layperson to discern.
Yeah, it really is. And like, the longer I do this, it's been 4 years now, the more like clarity I want to bring to that. And really, I know that no one is out there watching this recorded and is like fired up about having this conversation or doing it. Like I said to somebody the other day, like, yeah, I'm going to a Medicare conference next week. It's just to be proactive. I'm not 65 for 12 years, but this would be great. So I understand that. But just as you were saying, like, that's how I got into this, was going through this with my father-in-law and having dementia, and we weren't prepared, and it is really, really stressful. So like, not only is there the physicality of moving, which we all know is a very stressful thing to do, but think about it in the sense of like maybe you've got 30 or 40 years of things that we all accumulate in our house. So now you're dealing with that from that emotional layer. Now you're going to go into a world where you don't know what all the terms are. You're completely naive. What are activities of daily living? What are care levels? What does Medicare pay for? What is Medicaid? All of these things are going to come up, and you're dealing with all of that. You might be on a time crunch. So now you're trying to figure that out, absorb all of that. You've got probably, hopefully not, but a loved one that might be declining. So you're concerned about their care. Your mind's going in 97 different directions about what if, what do we do if this goes? And then honestly, this one really hit home for my wife and I when we went through this, because we were feeling all of those same emotions. And then at one point we stopped and we looked at each other and we went, oh my God, we're old. We have parents that are this age. So you internalize all of that. And it's so hard to manage all of that. But man, if you can be proactive about this and understand what's out there, and my costs, there's no cost. So if you think that it's coming, we should have a conversation and talk about this, because everybody that I've ever helped that's gone through this either has that regret of, why didn't I call you 6 months ago? Or this has been so stressful, but thank God you were here to help us navigate this. I wish I would have been more prepared, because it's those layers I really feel that nobody really talks about that you're going to feel, and those conversations that you're going to have are tough ones. Are really tough.
Well, and one thing, it's just having someone that actually does this every day to know what questions to ask.
Right. And that's really part of it, to understand what the families are going through, really have that huge empathetic heart to say it's okay, but also kind of put that advisor hat on and say, I want you guys to think about this, or did you think about the big picture, about what we can do to move forward with this, and have those conversations with family members that are really going to lead them to keep moving forward. Because so hard you can just stop, because you're overwhelmed, and we don't want that.
Well, I know that I've been overwhelmed more than once, and we've made bad decisions more than once, and we've tried to, and had to redecide and move around, and it's just, what you provide is a tremendous pressure off people if they will allow you to help them. So I know you've prepared some different storylines of some different things that have gone on. So we'd love to hear kind of really what a day in the life is like, and what you run into and how you solve different problems.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I'd like to have people understand is that seniors don't necessarily want to move. And that's another reason for wanting to be proactive in this. And really, it's very understandable. Like, you don't want to leave your home. That's your comfort. That has your memories. That has your things. It's a very difficult and emotional thing. I'm in the basement of my home, and I hope to be here a really long time. But I also hope that when I do need to move, or I might need care, that I'm a little bit more objective about it. But that's not that generation. They want to stay in their home, and that's understandable to have that. So these conversations that you're going to have, you might have, I'm speaking to the kids now, because that's who contacts me 95% of the time, are the kids. This conversation is going to take a little bit of massaging. It's going to take a few attempts. Nobody's going to open right up to this right away, or at least the majority don't. So be prepared to have that conversation right away, and understand that that's their perspective, that they don't want to do that. I will slight segue into that. It's because when it comes to assisted living, so many people think that means a nursing home, and that's really not the case. So just overcoming that obstacle is a really difficult conversation to have too, because these are residential apartments. Your own things are in there. You can hang your pictures on the wall. They're there to provide assistance, but that's really, getting over that hurdle is a really difficult one to do. So another reason for starting early, and I can help families have those conversations about what's the best way to approach mom or dad, or get out in front of this and try different angles. Sometimes they bring me in as someone that's an expert that doesn't have those family ties and those histories and all of that goes with it, those layers with that, to kind of talk about, no. This is what independent living means. This is what senior living means. This is what memory care is. And I can be a resource with that. So I love those situations where I've worked with families and mom or dad has those aha moments. That is just wonderful. So strategizing with the kids is something I love to do, and go tour with them ahead of time. And then we narrow it down and then bring it up to mom or dad is something that has been very, very successful in not overwhelming mom and dad with these options.
Would you recommend, I was sitting there listening to you with the nursing home thing, and you're right. It just that if somebody hasn't been in a community in a long time, that is what they think of as the old 60s, 70s, nursing homes,
Right.
and today they're like cruise ships on land, so a lot of them are. So would
Right.
you recommend getting people out that really maybe are years away from needing something, but just to go out and tour some of these places to see that the world has changed?
Yeah, I mean, and really, yeah, to really just understand what those options are out there and the different setups that they have. You've got, from continuing care retirement communities that have all levels of care on those same campuses, to understanding what that is, what those costs are associated with that, but also really kind of strategize as to what mom or dad might like. And of course, it's easy to have the high ceilings and the lights and all of those. And we'll also talk about the care that they might be needing, but really understanding what's out there and what that cost is. Yeah, you should totally reach out to me a year or so before you have to make this decision to know what's out there, because things are going to change, but it's really never too early to be proactive and understand what options are out there. Because like I say, half an hour or just over coffee with me, I'm probably going to tell you something that you didn't know. And I joke about this, but it's true because it comes up pretty regularly where they'll say, yeah, Dave, but mom and dad have Medicare. So, I mean, that'll help too. And it's like, are you betting that Medicare is going to pay for their senior living? Because that's not how that works. That's kind of like health insurance. And I know mine doesn't cover my mortgage and that won't cover mom or dad's. And it's like, oh, wow, we're going to have to, okay, now what do we do? So that is something that does come up, unfortunately, a lot.
But some of these, like I said, some of the communities, I think if people see them, I think it takes some of the fear away.
Yeah.
Because I know my daughter and son-in-law have, said they want an apartment where my mom lives. So, they said this looks like a pretty good place to live. So,
Yeah. And I think back to especially talking to the kids, and this is an analogy that it really happened to me. But then when I started working in senior living, it was like, oh my God, this is the same thing. And that's something that comes up all the time where the kids will say, mom or dad doesn't want to move to assisted living because they're going to lose all of their independence. And that I hear that all the time. And that is just not the case at all. The assisted livings, for one, can only do provide things based on what the doctor says. They can't change medication or do anything like that, but they're there to provide support so the residents can stay as independent as they can. So they're only going to help you with what you need help with, and that's based around activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, toileting, medication management. So you could go into assisted living and just you're not steady on your feet, but 3 days a week, someone could help mom or dad with standby assist with showers. Okay, so that's what they could need help for, because it would be a great fall prevention. They provide 3 meals a day, so mom isn't having to go to the grocery store all the time. Other than that, she's free to do whatever she wants, other than when she has those assigned times to help with showers. And that's really the whole point of assisted living is to provide that. And I use this analogy back in my days where I had to wear a uniform and a starched collared shirt or a polo or khakis, where I had to do that. I was in landscaping. And I took great pride in ironing all my shirts and getting ready for the week and pressing and having that crisp look. Well, that took quite a few hours out of my Sunday between doing laundry and ironing and everything else. And it dawned on me one day, like, oh my God, for $2 a shirt, I could have somebody else do this. It's probably a much better ironing, even though I'm very anal about that aspect, but they could do a much better job. And oh my God, I just got my Sunday back. So my wife and I can go to breakfast, or we can go to the park or the museum or do anything else. It's the same analogy with assisted living. You just need a little bit of help here and to keep you safe, keep you independent longer. So they help you with that. Now you can go do whatever you want. So I love that story because it's true. And I think some people, for them, it's a real aha moment.
Well, there's other advantages too. I know my mom is in an assisted living, and my uncle is, and they're very different people. They may be siblings, but they're very different people, and they have different needs and wants. Mom lived out in the country by herself, which was unsafe. Okay, and so she is safer where she has closer. Plus the fact she got robbed once because people saw the older lady out there, with her little King Charles Cavalier by herself, and they thought it was an easy, the neighbor next door had a garage sale. Yeah. So that's what targeted that. And then my uncle is a very social butterfly, and he literally come alive when he moved into there rather than onto this apartment by himself where he didn't see anybody, so there's benefits that way too.
Absolutely. And I had a referral that I helped late last year, and she moved in after the first of the year. She was living in her own home, doing pretty well, but had a little bit of she needed some help. So I picked her up, which I can do too. And we went and toured some communities, and really her whole thing was, I'm not into that food. I don't care. I just want to be in an environment that if I need help, I've got it there. I just want my Netflix. I don't care about activities, Dave. Don't take me to that stuff. It's not that big of a deal, but this will be a good move for me. So she had some reservations about going there and everything that was going on. Well, I went and saw her about 45 days after she was in, and she was just buoyant. She said, my daughter-in-law tells me I've done more in 5 weeks than I've done in 5 months. She's like, Dave, I don't want to do an impression of her, but she was like, I go to crafts. I'm not a crafts person, but it's wonderful. And she was getting on the bus. They were going to the art center down in Broad Ripple, and she was enjoying dinner, and she had made friends. And she's like, I should have done this years ago. I should have done this years ago. I still have my Netflix. I still love that. But I go downstairs and I talk to people and I enjoy this. She's just over the moon, and she's in a safe environment. So I love that. I love that for her because she's living her best life really right now.
I think a lot of people get really shocked when they find out that it is so much more opening their lives up, so I do have, before we go next, I have Kim has a question for you. She goes, are you national?
Yeah, Assisted Living Locators is a franchise, and we are, I think we're in 38 states now. So yeah, let me know if there's, somewhere you need to be connected with. I can connect you. But yeah, we are coast to coast, definitely.
I didn't want to get you off your thought, but I wanted to make sure I got that before I forgot it. So
absolutely. So I love that. I don't know if one of the things I had down was just understanding the differences with some of the different senior living options. And really, you've got your independent living, your assisted living and memory care. And then we alluded to a little earlier on with the nursing homes, which are going to be a much more clinical, someone needing 24/7 type of care. But your independent livings, really, they are just that. They're very much independent living. You can have that in the form of a garden home or a villa, or you also have your independent living apartments, and they just won't provide any care. So they will not provide help with activities of daily living. Some independent living communities might have a meal plan where you might get one meal per day, or they might have an allotment of $400 per month. A lot of times your utilities can be rolled up into those costs, so you can kind of bundle that. But of course, you've got a very much maintenance-free living inside and out, your landscaping and any snow removal. So it's a great retirement living. And then your difference with assisted living is you're going to have that access to the healthcare if you need it and those assistance. But you're going to have your 3 meals a day are going to be covered in that. You're going to have weekly housekeeping. Transportation will be included in that. Activities are going to be included in that as well. And of course, your utilities are generally paid for with your assisted living. Again, different levels, but you got to have 2 costs with assisted living. You have your base rate, which will be the cost for the size of your apartment that will include all of those things that we talked about. But with assisted living, they're going to determine through an assessment how much assistance you will need with that. So different levels with that. Usually, $500 per level is a good average. So you have to add those 2 costs together to get your monthly total for assisted living. Memory care is going to be for someone that is needing that extra assistance, where assisted living just provides a little bit too much freedom and they need that structure when it comes to memory care. A little higher ratio of caregiver to residents, a lot more interactive programming for those suffering from the different forms of dementia. Most of those communities are smaller too, anywhere from usually 25 is a nice average. That's for memory care. And then when you need a lot more care, that 24/7 care, maybe you need 2 people to transfer from a wheelchair to the bed, assistance with feeding, that's when you're going to find more of your nursing home care. I hope that's a great explanation, but very
that helps a lot. I think a lot of people just don't understand those different breakdowns. I don't know that I completely did, even with my family in them, until
Sure.
I got into the world, and started dealing with it. So
yeah, and that's again, that's another layer to what we started talking about earlier, is just where is mom or dad at? What do they need? Just trying to understand all of that. When you're in a crisis mode, it is a lot. And to kind of piggyback on that, one question that comes up a lot too is, mom or dad has a diagnosis of dementia. Do we need memory care? Does that mean memory care? And, there's your nuances with that. But generally speaking, I think it's safe to say that most assisted livings have residents with dementia living very comfortably and very safely in their assisted living. It provides structure for them. They get reminders when to come to meals, when to go to activities. And as long as they can participate and kind of swim in their own lane and still be engaged, they do quite well. Really, when it comes to communities looking at when is a person appropriate to make that transition from assisted living to memory care, one of the biggest things they look at, or I should say the 2 things that they really look at, but is their safety. Do they still have that safety awareness? If the apartment door is shut, are they safe to be in that apartment alone? The other thing is really that elopement or exit seeking. That can be a real symptom of dementia, that somebody will want to exit seek, whether it's to get to mom's house or something like that. But assisted livings, again, they're not generally secured, so you can come and go. And someone that has dementia that's exit seeking will make that. Communities will say you need to be in that secure environment of memory care.
I'm trying to answer a question too. So,
Sure. That's great.
And I wanted to answer this one rather than ask you to, because it's about a competitor. So I'm trying to
that's all right.
do that. What I was just going to say, well, tell us what some of these different adventures are like with people as you're having some people coming to you, and obviously not names and places, but how does it work with the families and the individuals that you've worked with to help them solve these issues?
Yeah, so you want me to tell like a couple stories about
Sure.
how I've helped families and things like that? Yeah, one family that was really, really great. I love when they really engage me in those conversations, and we have those discussions about what they like, what they don't like, early on. And the eldest daughter came to me and said, Dave, we've got to get my parents out of their home. They're not safe. Mom is having some cognitive issue. My dad's completely against it. He wants to be the caregiver, but he won't admit that he's overwhelmed. What I want to do is I want to go visit 4 or 5, and then I want to sit down with my sisters and get them on board. And so if I can get them on board, if we all come to mom and dad, we'll have a chance of explaining to them, why we need to do this. So we went and did that. She met with her sisters. And then through my process with them, they love the spreadsheet that I make for all my clients, where I organize all of the care levels, the costs, the amenities that go on there, and then really drill in, staff ratios, things like that, where we really talk about that. And it's all on a spreadsheet. And she was like, my dad is a data-driven guy. This is like perfect. So, give me all of those updated notes. So when she sat down with her dad, she's like, I met this guy named Dave, and this is what he does. Look at all this data that we've got here, Dad. I've been on tours. My sister's, they're now on board, but look at all this information that's out there. We really need to look at that. And for him, it was like this light went off of like, oh my God, you've been doing all this work for me. Look at all of this information. This is awesome. So she knew how to speak his language, and it was in those spreadsheets. And we went out and toured 3 communities, and to watch him start to understand why he needed to be there and those lights that go off. And we were touring a community that had both independent living and assisted living. Still, he's thinking that's a nursing home. But as we're going through the independent living and we walked to the other half of the building, and I said to him, I'm like, so what do you think about this community? This is just lovely, Dave. I'm just enjoying it. And I said, this is the assisted living side. And he was looking for people like in scrubs and a clinical feel. And he was looking for the medicine carts and everything else. And I said, it didn't really change, did it? I go, they just have people here that will assist. And he was like, oh my God. And by the time we got downstairs after the tour, he was giving away his landscaping equipment. He didn't want any more of that. It made sense to him, and he wanted to make the move. So yeah, that was a great story early on.
Well, it's one of those things that I've told a lot of people about you, and I am going to let you weigh in if you want to. But the question was, how do you interface with a place for mom, or are they a competitor? And I said, well, here's my answer. That way you don't have to. If
That's
you don't
all
want
right.
to. I just said that they are a competitor for you, and I said, but the difference is that they are not going to go with you and work with you and help you find things. They're going to basically sell your contact information to several different communities, and then those sales reps will contact you. It's kind of like Zillow is the way I would recommend. I come from a real estate background, so to me, they're very Zillow-like. Nothing wrong with them, nothing wrong with the model. It's just a different model. Yeah,
and I think we always say we're the boots on the ground. So we're not. My goal is a lot of goals, but I don't want to overwhelm you, and really boiling this down to 3 or maybe 4 communities to look at after we have our conversations about what the family's goals are, long-term, things like that. Really, we just need to go to 3 or 4. You don't need to go to 6 or 8 or 10 like that and do it on your own. I'll be right there with you to go through that. So I think that's a huge differentiator, that I am going to serve you and your needs and help you make the right decision. I'm not just going to give you a list and check in with you after you've toured them all.
Well, myself and my own family, I have told my siblings, I'm in the senior, world. So every day I'm out doing things. And what I try to explain to them, so now, so at least they're leaning into me to kind of make recommendations now, which is amazing, because most of the time my family has a tendency to blow, how that goes. They're out of town, they want to make a decision from out of town.
Yeah, right.
What I've been but I finally trying to explain to them is that the turnover is so high in this industry in a lot of these different places. I may say this place is the greatest and they got great staff, but tomorrow it's not the same people. So I've told them I'm always going to call you to help guide me through, because you know more what's going on behind the initial screen than I do.
Yeah, and really, it's difficult out there, and things do change. But I tell people I'm really not here to say A is better than B, but you need to move into C. I want to help you understand what those communities have. We ask those questions. We have that confidence that you can make the right decision. But at the same time, I'll tell this. I was working with somebody and they told me the area that they wanted to be in, and I sent them some recommendations and they seemed to like those, but they came back and said, "Hey, you didn't recommend this one. It's literally across the street." And I'm like, love that community. It's beautiful. It's got all the aesthetics. Executive director has changed. The director of nursing's been there a month and they don't have a salesperson. Based on your mom's care, I'm a little concerned. We can go there, but that's my role, is to say, hey, eyes wide open. We can go into this. Let's ask the questions. Let's have those conversations. But this is what's going on within the community to the best of my knowledge that I know. But those are the things that I do know. And really, no community's perfect. And probably, Jim, you're the same way. I will hear things at networking events or work with this hospice company or this home health or this elder law attorney. You will hear things about the same community, from I wouldn't send a prisoner there to they, laid rose petals out for my mom every time she walked the hallway. And you're like, how could this be the same place?
Right.
It's all about setting those expectations and helping families understand, hey, this is how you need to navigate this. And really, I tell families, as we tour, are they interviewing us as much as we're interviewing them? Are they wanting to make a right fit? Do they have an operations team that's transparent, that they want your feedback? Do you want to go to them with your feedback? Because ultimately you want a partner in this. Moving mom or dad into a community isn't going to solve all of your problems. What we want to have is a partner, because you're going to want their feedback as to if mom starts declining a little bit more and they need to add some more care. Are you going to want to hear that from them? Is this a partner where they're like, yes, give us feedback. We can't make any changes until we know what's going on. If you're seeing something, whatever small, we want to hear that. And do they have that in place? Do they have that type of culture as we're there touring and we're asking our questions? That's where you want to be. That's what.
Yeah, excellent. Kim's got another question. It's a great question, and timing was great because I was getting ready to bring this up myself. But anyway, she's asking do people do home care first through companies like care.com before the next step, like assisted living stage? Some do, I would say, but there's also what I was going to say too, is where someone is in assisted living, you can stay in assisted living longer without having to go to the next step a lot of times if you engage with care, what I'm saying, with like home care, what have you.
Yeah, and Kim, just ask away if I don't answer that correctly. But that's something that if mom and dad aren't on board and they need some assistance in the home, definitely we can get them hooked up with a caregiver, get that support, and then we can go do the legwork and make sure that they're safe. But that is something. And I've got a family that I'm helping right now where she's had a caregiver coming in for the last 6 or 8 months, and they don't want to lose that caregiver. It's a great relationship. It's a great friend for mom. And so that's part of it, that she will be following her to whatever community that we choose. So that is a definite concern. And we want to work with that and make sure that continues.
And, in those killers, beyond that, it's like, you were talking about, I've got a caregiver that we have that works with both of my uncle and my mom, and I don't know how I would survive without her. Okay. It's, I don't know how I would find time to work,
right,
without her. And especially this last couple of weeks, mom's been in and out of the hospital. She's been out of rehab. My uncle fell and was in the hospital, and and she keeps track of all of now she is a nurse advocate as well. So she actually, she keeps track of all their meds, all their medical history. So I don't have to, they look at me and ask me questions, and I look at Michelle and she reads it off. It's a wonderful thing, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was touring with a family today, and I mentioned that, because they're going to be probably an hour away from their dad. So that's something that I mentioned. There is something called a geriatric care manager that could help you understand, go to the doctor's appointments with your dad and understand that and make sure that, all the medication is what he should be on, that there's not issues with that, and give that information back to you and handle all of that for you so you're not in the dark. And they're great advocates. Absolutely.
Yeah, geriatric care manager, they call themselves by all kinds of different names. The one that I work with, she calls herself a rent-a-daughter, but whatever it is, it works the same. So,
right.
Kim, you also have a question. Is there a franchise in the greater Seattle area with assisted living locators? Do you know?
I can look real quick if we're okay with that.
Okay.
I believe so, but I don't want to lie to you since this is being recorded.
You only do that off camera, right? So.
Right. Here we go. Yes, it looks like, there are. So yeah, I can get that to you.
Yeah, you've got his contact information, Kim. He can get you connected with them.
Absolutely.
So I'll go back to you, David. I'll let you figure. I was going to say, I'd love to hear. Like I said, I'd love to hear some of your stories and some of the things you run into, because who knows, So
yeah, let me look here. Oh, you caught me, Jim. I just had a little blank on that.
Oh,
it's all right.
Well, just like I said, can you tell me maybe someone that was terrified, maybe, that you basically could help? Because I think that a lot of people, like you said earlier, people have a tendency to feel like they're giving up. They're going into, you're taking away all their independence. You're taking away their stuff. And by the way, if they need to get rid of their furniture and all that kind of stuff, call me. I can help you with the downside part. That's what we do. But what can you do to kind of move that fearful person maybe through the kids? You already kind of talked about one, but can you tell me some more stories of people that you've been able to walk through that?
Well, I think that it's a supportive environment, and one of the things that it comes up time and time again is that the relationships that get strained. The family that I was touring with today, the daughter is basically the caregiver, so she's doing everything for dad, and it's too much, and you can just tell that she's just overwhelmed emotionally. She's tired. She's just at her wit's end. Her sister was with her, and what happens that the people don't understand, that it is so tough, and why senior living can be a solution for that, is that everything that involves her time with her dad is about the caregiving. It's about what meal does he need now? What can she help him with bathing? Can she run to pick up her prescription? Can she go, get the notes from the doctor from the last visit, or follow up with the nurse that was in the room? That conversation now bleeds over to her sister too, right? So that's all that they have conversations about is their dad. She's not even having daughter-father conversations anymore. And that is so hard to see that's on there, and that she needs to have those resources. So really, she needs to not be a care manager anymore, and she needs to not be a caregiver, but have that time with her dad to discuss what she did at work today, or what they did in 1978, or reminisce, or have those conversations. So I hope for her that we find that community for her where it's great, where she could just go visit her dad and just have a meal and talk about what activities he went and did, or where they went shopping and what that was like and what her life is like, and not have it all be around that caregiving. And I see that time and time again, that it's just heartbreaking, because she's just frazzled, and I want her to have that free time,
Well, I've seen a lot of relationships strained because of the stress that's on, trying to do everything themselves, and it strains relationships between the parent and the child. Even with that, it also strains the relationship between other siblings. You're not carrying your weight, whatever. So
right.
This is again another lift off of that to try to help people start getting family again, as opposed to.
I think that so much of the kids, they have to have these tough conversations with, we all have history with our parents and loved ones that all creeps up, and you have to talk about finances, and that can be a tough thing. You can have to talk about end of life, and you have to talk about lawyers and wills and things like that. And it's not the funnest conversations to have, but really helping people understand all of those options that are out there and how to connect them. When paying for senior living, it's not cheap, as you well know, Jim. It's not cheap, but helping families understand that they can get their ducks in a row and there's options out there to things that they just didn't know about. Like it's the Indiana Medicaid waiver is a great thing for families, and they can, if they do a little bit of planning or there's a little bit of finances, that might make a great option for families to go pursue that. But you're not going to know which ones take the Medicaid waiver and which ones don't, or which ones require 12 months of private pay first, or this one will allow you to private pay for 2 years and to do that. And those are the things that I can help you with and have helped families understand that there are options out there, and I can get them pointed in the right direction. And then when it's time to go tour communities and look at that, I'm right there to help them. So we talked earlier about the realtor. Realtors always know electricians and landscapers and roofers and things like that. And I'm definitely that way too, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a nurse, and I'm barely a landscaper, which is what I was doing. But I can help people understand that so they can make those right decisions.
Well, you just kind of went right into Kim's next question here as well. So,
Okay.
She goes, how do you deal with the sticker shock of going from the current rent or mortgage to 4 to 8 times as much for assisted living? Also, are there enough state supported units for the vast majority who cannot afford patient payer units? So I'll let you field that as well. So
yeah, and that's a great question, Kim. You have all the assisted livings that you see, there's almost as many as there are roundabouts in Carmel everywhere. They're out there. The vast majority of those are private pay. And so off the top of my head, there's probably maybe 28 or 30 that accept the Medicaid waiver. Some of those will take it as soon as you're approved. Others require a little bit more time to make that switch, and some might require a move from one side of the building to the other. I wish there were more. Honestly, I don't know that there are enough. There certainly aren't enough when it comes to the memory care portion of that. If there's 30 that take the Medicaid waiver, there's probably only 11 or so that take it for memory care. So really, reaching out to someone like me, or just to help someone navigate this and say, this is what it costs, this is what's included, here's what the waiver will cover, here's how long it takes to get on the waiver, these are your options. And that's how I help people do that. But honestly, there's probably not enough that take the Medicaid waiver for the things that I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot more families that don't have a vast amount of savings, or they don't have long-term care insurance, but they might have enough funds to last them for 2 years. Well, mom or dad's only 73. What are we going to do if they live to be 80? What are our options? We can look at the Medicaid waiver, and we can talk about what communities are out there and work with different elder law attorneys to get that approved and go that route if needed.
Yeah, there are so many different programs out there and things that can be done. In fact, one of my upcoming panels I want to do, and I'm working with people to get this set up, is there's a new thing where they can do tax credits, where the communities will actually bring people in for really low figures, and then the community gets a tax credit for doing that. And I know now, everything I know about it. So
yeah.
So I'm trying to, I'm going to try to get somebody to come in and explain that as well. So there are those. There's also another thing, Kim, that I don't know if your loved one was in the military, or if their spouse was in the military. There's a significant amount of money that can be applied towards assisted living, or home care, or for that matter, with the VA aid and attendance. It's about $2,200 a month right now. That's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, and like that, like the caregiver homes. I think we've had them on
right
panels, and you've got adult day and things like that. Can all services that are out there that are just
it's, you don't give up just because you see the price structure.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot of different programs. There's a lot of different things that can be done,
definitely.
so well, so basically what do you recommend to someone? Okay, let's say you're trying to talk to someone that's probably in their 50s, and their mom and dad are their 50s or 60s, and mom and dad are making them nervous that maybe maybe there's something coming down the pike, that but they don't know what to do. Could you help guide them into having that conversation with mom and dad?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And doing that strategy. Yeah. If you suspect that mom or dad is not safe in the home, that there might be some cognitive issues, or there's a fall risk or something like that, we can sit down and have those conversations about how to approach that, and what to be sensitive about. Like I said, they don't want to leave their home. They're going to be concerned that it's a nursing home. You want them to feel empowered about this. One thing that is always comes up, and it's what did you used to like to do? It's all about the past. And I think we make that mistake of talking like that because it seems to make sense. But I think for someone that's contemplating this move, they still have a lot of runway in front of them. We need to talk about how positive this can be, and how this can be a really great move. It's not the end of the road. This is just another chapter, and it's just going to be a little bit different, but look how great this can be. All of these things are off your plate. So keeping a very positive spin on it, but being prepared to have this conversation a few times is a great way to go into it, and really trying to get them to understand that this is a good move and it needs to be their idea. So that's another reason for having it a few different times. It's going to take a while to sink in.
Yeah, I think that's true. So when you are working with, let me ask you a question. This may be kind of going a different direction. Have you ever run into a situation where mom or dad knows it's time for them to move into one, but the kids are afraid they're going to spend their inheritance?
Oh, wow. Not specifically that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but I can see that being
I think what does happen is usually, I've had more of a situation where mom and dad, it's their second marriage, and mom's kids and dad's kids are kind of going way, there's a little bit of tension from that regard as to how we're going to spend this and what we need to do. That kind of comes up, and that's difficult to try to navigate, and they kind of need to work that out on their own, because I can't really solve that necessarily, other than, I do have a situation where I don't want to paint a picture like that, but you could tell, like, this is not going to be, just do whatever you need to do. That kind of tension was there, but that was an option to where we could look at the Medicaid waiver as a possibility, where there was 2 years of private pay, but they could save that much money down the road, and we could look at those options. So we can try to find that balance, but I haven't had to deal with that. What I thought you were going to ask me is, do you ever have seniors that are ready, that want to move? And I've only had one of those, and she was just a doll. She was tired of housework and cooking for herself. She was really fired up about the social aspect of going to there and just enjoying that. And yeah, so if she could have moved the day before, she would have, and she was fired up. But that's very rare that I've had seniors that are ready to go. There's usually, if it's close, that's like, yeah, we probably know we got to do this, but still, it's a huge undertaking to just go through all of your things and to downsize and to, try to think about how you're going to fit everything from your 3,000 square foot house that you've been in for 35, 40 years down to 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom apartment is pretty daunting just on that level alone.
Speaking of the money side of it again, I'll tell an anecdotal one of my own family. Is when my uncle was, needing to go into assisted living, he had a finite amount of money. Okay. So it wasn't like, you could do the math real fast and figure out how fast you'd be empty, that thing. Right. And we did engage elder law attorney who then set up all these systems. Like I try to explain, have my wife come look at it. She's like, I'll just call him, so, because it is complicated, the way it was set up, but he ended up moving money into a trust. Yeah. I'm a trustee. That means he qualified for VA. So we started getting the VA, his thing. So we have a VA account. We have a trust account. We have his account. And it'll be 5 years ago in September.
Okay.
And so that means that we've made it we're close to the 5-year look back on Medicaid, and his community in the meantime has become Medicaid waiver eligible.
Oh,
so
wow.
He can now, he stays in the same room, has exactly the same benefits, nothing changes, except his donut hole will go away and his Medicare, and his rent will go down to $770 a month. Okay. And which is significantly less. And then additionally, to take it even further, is he with VA and with Social Security, he makes too much money. So we have to create a Miller's Trust. And all these words I'm throwing out here could be word salad if you're listening to this. What I'm telling you is, you need to engage someone who does this for a living, okay? Because I know enough to be dangerous when I try to tell you about it, but it's wonderful to have these resources that can get these things solved for you, because, his finances he'll never run out of money.
Yeah, and then he also, once he pays his rent, he keeps his monthly income, right? So he has some.
Yeah. So now we have to spend money every month.
Right. Yeah. He's got some folding money to go do whatever he wants to do. And it's a great thing. But to your point, there's a 5-year look back. And so you want to, again, stay proactive with anything like that you might think is a reality, so you can plan ahead. And so you can preserve as much as you can and get all your ducks in a row prior, because when you do it under that, there is like a penalty phase where you do have to spend down.
Do you have a recommendation on how to find a geriatric care manager? I was just going to say, I don't know if Kim is, I know that she's looking in Seattle. I don't know who's there. I know some here, obviously.
Yeah. Boy, I don't. I wonder.
I would just, my thing was Google it, Let's say geriatric care manager. What other terms have you heard them use?
Care coordinator.
Yeah.
That could be out
senior care coordinator or whatever.
Yeah, senior care coordinator. When I reach out to the franchise owners, they might work with a couple, or they might know some that they can connect you with too.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're running out of time. We're down to about 8 minutes left. So is there something, you've got the audience, it's yours, you can do with as you please. So what do you want people to know?
I want people to know that it's difficult, it's hard, but you've got resources out there. Whether you work with me or I point you in the right direction to a home care company, or we get you hooked up with an elder law attorney, you don't move for 2 years, there's resources out there to help you, and it's okay. We can figure this out. We'll put it together. We'll get a roadmap together. I will help you navigate this. And if you want someone that's been in your shoes, that's had to deal with this, I understand what that's like, and I know how difficult that is, but we'll put together a plan. I'll be with you through the whole process. You're not going to pay anything working with me. Don't pay more from the communities, anything like that. I want you to stay proactive and have as less stress as you can by doing this, and I'll help you through it. And just don't be afraid of what you don't know. It's okay. Just call someone that can connect you to get the resources that you need, because it's intimidating and it's difficult, but the worst thing you can do is just wait. It just gets harder and harder and harder when you wait.
I agree. I was going to say too, that's the whole purpose that Life's Copilot exists. Okay. Right. Is we built this so that people can go on here. This video will go into our video library. And so you can go in here and rewatch it anytime you want to, share it with anyone, anywhere in the country you want to send it to. How do you get paid again? That's another question.
Yeah, so the communities pay me a referral fee. So, you know, I don't have contracts with every single community, and there's some that don't work with me, but if we can figure out the best place for you to go, we'll figure it out. But that is how I get paid. If like the realtor, the seller pays the referral fee. So the communities pay me a referral fee.
So on that particular thing, that's where you and A Place for Mom are the same.
Yes, that is
exactly
the same.
that's how that
Exactly.
works too for them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So yeah,
people may not realize that, but that is how that works. Yeah. So
yes, that is how that works exactly. And so, you know, but I'm objective about it. I want you to find the best fit. So it doesn't matter where we end up going and touring, as long as we find a good fit for you, it'll be okay.
That's great. David, I appreciate your time today. I think you did a great job. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick screen share because I want to show people what's coming up real quick, because I just got this thing booked. So I'm very excited about it because, you know, Dave, you know that what I'm going, you know, my family, we're dealing with Parkinson's, but so we have a movement specialist, Parkinson's movement specialist, neurosurgeon from Detroit, who is going to be teaching in class here on the 11th of August on how to live with the off periods better. So I'm very, very excited about that. You can always find information here. We have, you know, different things coming up, adult daycare. We have different things that are coming up. So basically every 2 weeks, we have an event coming up. Just go to lifecopilot.com, go to events, you can see what's coming up. And then you go to the resources and there's videos of all the past ones, there's blogs. You know, I know Dave's got blogs in there. We have a lot of people we get professionals. So you're not getting the information from your barber's uncle's cousin, you know, so you're getting it from real people that are actually doing it for a living. Okay, Kim, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. He just says that you guys are great. And by the way, I'm a guy, Kim. Okay, I know Kim's, you know, guys, Kim too. So
sorry.
Thank you very much, Kim. And thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll wrap this thing up and we'll see each other soon.
I hope so. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.